on Tuesday. And the big news I have for you is yesterday, Israel time yesterday, I suppose, or it was probably our nighttime here in the Middle East. 3 American bases in Iraq and Syria were attacked by drones simultaneously at the same time. Biden was given some kind of speech, and they told him he had to be called out and go to the Situation Room. So this was, a major thing with America, and I don't know what the Americans were expecting from Iran, but Iran was making good on their threats from a few days ago. Then again, we heard another rumor that Biden wanted to put pressure on America not to do a ground invasion. And then we heard more rumors yesterday that Netanyahu himself was trying to stop the ground invasion. The head of the Labor Party, it's Histadrut, is a labor union. It's like a party in Israel, and they have about 800,000 members. And previously, in protest of what Netanyahu was doing with his judicial reform, Histadrut called for a strike. And that was banks and schools and cities and government workers. And oh man, and Netanyahu, after a few hours of that, caved in. Look, this Netanyahu is an awful individual, okay? He's horrible for Israel, okay? I call him the curse on Israel, all right? He's that bad. He's under 3 criminal indictments for corruption, 16 years in jail. What did he do? He went out and tried to change the judicial system in Israel, getting rid of the Supreme Court by reducing their power tremendously. And then he would pass a law with his cronies that says the prime minister is immune for anything he does when in office. Then his criminal cases become moot and he goes away. I told people for about months, if he can't get the judicial reform, he'll get us into a war. And if he has to, he'll get us into a war bad enough that there's no Israel. Look what happened. There's, of course, always going to be an Israel. But that's what he might think. That's a way for him to buy time and stall and try to figure something out with his judicial reform, which the people aren't putting up with. Okay? So he is a horrible person. And now the head of the Labor Party called for his immediate removal. I think the Labor Party is tied to Histadrut. I could be wrong. It might just be the Labor Party, which is a small party in Israel. It may or may not be tied to Histadrut. So we had a elected member of the Knesset calling for immediate removal of Netanyahu. And he even said, yeah, I know there's a war on, but we got to get rid of him. Now, he probably knows a lot of stuff we don't know, right? I don't know if this will get legs or not. The Israeli people have been trained to believe that you don't make changes in the government during the war. Well, you do if you got a nincompoop that wants to stop the ground invasion. You see, what the nations want is they want Hamas there again. And they want Hamas to rebuild and keep attacking Israel. They don't want Jews in Israel. They certainly don't want Jews fulfilling prophecy and taking more of the land back. Who runs the nations of the world? Look at their behaviors. Who do you think runs them? God? Come on. You believe that? Look at their practices and compare it to the Bible. Every one of them goes against the Bible. They tell you they don't, but they do. Forget the words. When you analyze politicians, the words are sort of meaningless. It's compare the words and their actions. And then you'll see how they operate. All right. There's a rumor circulating around I saw this morning, but I think it's the Arabs started it. There's supposedly about 500,000 Jews in Israel that are American also. And that number might be a little on the high side. And they're saying the Americans are talking about a way to evacuate them if Israel gets bad. First of all, how do you evacuate 500,000 people? Now, I'll be the first to admit that America would go bend over backwards and do cartwheels to get Jews out of Israel and reverse prophecy. So would the nations. But in the middle of being exterminated after what happened, 17, 18 days with the cutting off of the heads and all the other stuff by the Muslims, you think the Israeli people, American or otherwise, are going to want to go back and live in the nations again? Are you kidding me? Think about it. They won't go. Oh, you'll have 10 or 20,000 that would go, but they won't go. No. No. So, I don't know if this thing is just a rumor. I don't think it's going to get legs. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Look, if they take a big ship over here to take Jews out, it'll hold 3,000 people. Okay? Maybe there's the amount of ships that could hold more than that, you can count on one hand probably, or two hands. Huge, massive cruise ships, and they'll go up to 4,000, that's all. You know how many cruise ship trips that's going to be? Where are they going to put them in America? Where are they going to live? What are they going to make a city and call it Warsaw Ghetto? Where are they going to put them? In a FEMA camp? Oh. So come on, this ain't getting legs. I'm going to cover America more on my Bible study video later this morning. But America's got to respond to this. America's first knee-jerk reaction is, oh, let's get Israel to stop. You know? And then maybe Iran will calm down. Well, Iran won't calm down. What Iran will do is they see weakness in America. They'll calm down after America's bases in Iraq and Syria are destroyed, or they leave, they pull out. If they just want to pack up and leave Iraq and Syria, and they said, Iran, we'd like a ceasefire, we're going to leave, I think Iran would give it to them. And they'd run around the media talking about how weak America is. I think they got enough brains in the Pentagon to realize they got to counterattack. But what are you doing? You're counterattacking ragtag militia groups running around on donkeys and horses and stuff in the deserts of Iraq and Syria. No, you've got to cut the head off the snake. You've got to bomb Iran. That's the only answer. They're not going to invade Iran, in my estimation. It's a massive undertaking. Hamas has, best case with Palestinian Islamic Jihad, 50,000 soldiers. They have a tunnel network of 300 miles. I recently learned these tunnels are not 40 feet under the earth. They're 100 feet or more under the earth. And a lot of them are made with reinforced concrete and steel beams in there. Girders, we call them, that are curved for the roof. And that gives them great support in the event of bombing causing shockwaves. Okay? Real good support. The tunnels are about 2.5 meters wide and 2 meters high. Okay? I'm sorry, it's not, the wide is a meter, I think. I'm sorry. It's 1 meter wide, which is about 3.2 feet and 2.5 meters high. Sorry. Now let's take a look at Hezbollah with 100,000 members plus all their affiliates. How much of a tunnel network do you think Hezbollah has? I don't know. I'm pretty sure Israel has an idea. Do you think they have no tunnels? No, they've talked about them. They might have 800 miles of tunnels. I don't know. You getting the picture? Now let's go to Iran. How many hundreds of miles of tunnels do you think Iran has? How many? 1,000? 2,000? I don't know. But I'll tell you, it's a heck of a lot more than Gaza has. It'd have to be probably 2,000 miles of tunnels. They've had decades to build them. How do you invade them? Now, there's a little light at the end of the tunnel here, but I don't have the great handle on it yet. The 100-foot down tunnels will sustain 5,000-pound bunker buster bombs. They're not going to work. If it's 100 feet or so, it won't work. America has built 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs. You listen to this? 30,000 pounds. 15 tons. I mean, you know, how big is this thing? I don't know. It's probably, I have no idea. It could be 50, 60 feet by, 3 feet thick or something. I don't know. I don't know. That could be why the B-52s are here to carry those things. They could probably carry maybe 2 at a time. Now, how many of these does America have? Do they have 10? Do they have 1,200? I don't know. They're not talking. Why should they? So, are we going to be using these bunker buster bombs when the time for the ground invasion comes? I don't know. I don't know if if America wants to give those up for Hamas, or just wants to save them for Iran. Now, I think in Iran, they taught some of their tunnels 140, 160 feet. I don't know if this 30,000-pound thing will go down that far. It might. But it might not. I don't know. They don't talk. They don't tell you. Why should they? There's a good chance it could. And a 30,000-pound bomb, the impact, let's say it only makes it 110 feet, and you got this massive explosion that's probably enough to blow up an area of 4 city blocks, taking place under the surface with all that dirt and concrete to push the forces more down. The shock waves could be grueling. But if they're, using the ceiling of their bunkers underground, could be 6-8 feet thick with reinforced concrete and steel pillars, and they may take it. I don't know. Tunnel warfare is very old. It goes back thousands and thousands of years. Recently, we saw it used in Vietnam, but they were different tunnels. They were maybe, 6-10 feet down. They were not concrete. They put boards in sometimes to keep the dirt up. It wasn't anything sophisticated like what Hamas has done. There should be no radio or cell phone communications inside these tunnels. I mean, if you go by the tunnel entrance and you sit inside, 2 or 3 feet, you could probably talk on the cell phone and use a radio, where you'd still be protected from most forms of attack, because you're in the tunnel. They jump out of the tunnel with these portable rocket launchers. They set them up, they put the rockets in, which are the Katyushas, which is, it's probably a 3-man job. One guy probably carries the base plate, and the other guy carries the launcher, or maybe one guy carries both, and the other guy carries a rocket. They set it up, they aim it, nobody really knows they're there. They put the rocket in, and they could have a timer for 5 minutes. And they go back and get in their tunnel. Okay, and the rocket goes off and they're safe. Or they could fire the rocket and just run, 50 feet back to their tunnel. Before Israel gets a GPS locate on where the launch is and sends an airplane or artillery, or generally not a missile, to blow up the launch site, they're well underground. That's why they keep launching rockets all the time. When they launch these sophisticated rockets that go up into the center of Israel, I think that's more burdensome for them, because those things are serious rocket launches. They're not a little, bipod. It looks like a mortar setup for the American Army. The Katyusha launches. It's not any big deal. But to get the rockets up to, those have a range of maybe up to 12 miles. But when you start getting up around Tel Aviv, that's a more sophisticated rocket, and they don't send many of those up a day. If they send them at all, it'd be, 1 or 2 or 3. So those kind of rocket launches are somewhat more sophisticated. So anyway, that's what's going on. I do hope they get rid of Netanyahu. It would be the best thing for Israel. I don't know who would take his place, but I know that, look, the media, the newspapers, the major ones in Israel always talk about this member of Knesset doesn't trust Netanyahu because he's a liar. Another member of Knesset says, you can't believe what Netanyahu says. It's common knowledge he's a liar. What he'll do is he'll lie to Biden and say, well, yeah, I'll do this. I'll stop the ground invasion. Then he sees resistance, and he gets scared, and he says, oh, I can't do it. And then he doesn't listen. He doesn't do what he promised Biden. So by now, Biden has to know that Netanyahu blows about like, a flag in the wind, one direction to another. So now that he's being threatened by the Labor Party with calling for immediate removal, now if he's immediately removed, what's going to happen is his criminal cases are going to proceed. Of course, he's prime minister. He has everything drawn out, It's going to take another 2 years, But they'll get rid of him. Now, they could remove him from office. There were proceedings taking place in the Supreme Court in Israel before the war started, where they were getting ready to, he had a law passed that said nobody could remove the prime minister but the Knesset with a vote of 75% of them, and only for reasons of health. So the Supreme Court was getting ready to strike that down. And then we got the war, you see. So once they struck that down, they were probably going to say, look, you're manipulating the judicial system because of your criminal cases, and therefore you said you wouldn't do that. He's a liar, but you're doing it, so we're removing you from office. Then Whisk could be in jail. His case all of a sudden is going to move ahead very fast, and there's a lot of witnesses and testimony. If it wasn't a bad case, he wouldn't be worried about it. It's bad for him. And it's 16 years in jail. A few years ago, I think maybe 2016 or something like that, 17, we had one former president of Israel and one former prime minister of Israel in jail at the same time. Okay? If he eventually decides not to invade Gaza, his right-wing coalition partners are going to probably move away from him. But Gantz might join him, so there won't be a vote of no confidence. I'm glad somebody's starting to talk for his immediate removal. I'm glad. And if he sits there and tells the public, look, we can't do a ground invasion, it's over, the Gaza thing's finished, go home, they'll get rid of him one way or another. Now, he's hoping if he could drag this out, maybe he's hoping, if he could drag this out for a few weeks, the Israelis will simmer down and go home. But what I see happening is America getting sucked into this thing. So the Pentagon is going to say to Biden, we got to have a show of force. And Biden might say, well, let's just leave Iraq and Syria. Who gives a hoot? Well, he's not going to do that. They need to control the Middle East for oil prices. So I'll be on the air later in the morning with my normal Bible prophecy connecting to current events war. And you can follow, if you want to follow the war blow by blow, join me on my Telegram. Download Telegram Messenger, which is free. Telegram's free. Got 700 million members, no censorship, it's encrypted. And then send me an email and ask me for the Telegram link. Just put Telegram in the subject header. My email address is israelgiving7@gmail.com. israelgiving7@gmail.com. And it's in the description box of the video. Let me see if we got, and the lowest line down. And just put Telegram in the subject header. I'm trying to see if there's anything in the chat here that I need to deal with. No, and thank you for your prayers. Please pray for me and my wife Rivka for our peace, safety, protection, joy, and pray for our animals and pets who are all rescues. And we have some people staying with us, and pray for their protection too. And the Telegram gets updated 100 or 200 times a day. So you'll hear things like an attack was here, an attack was there, a missile here, infiltration there. Here's a video of the attack. Here's a picture of the damage. Here's a video. Here's this, here's that. Okay, it gives you the blow-by-blow, ongoing, as it's happening. Okay? If you just want to hear the general conversation, I try to do these a few times a day on YouTube. All right? Make sure you're subscribed and click the notification bell here, because if the eggs start hitting the fan quick, I'll be doing frequent live streams on YouTube. And that's it. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I'm out.